Welcome to the main event. ULTY. Can any ETF beat them for income? Well, we put together a neat little program for you guys. We are excited about this one. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Doug, the retirement guy. We're doing something unique here today. We're going to put ULTY up against 3 contenders to see if anyone can knock them off for income. So let's get into today's video. Notice to all viewers, past performance does not guarantee future results. The information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. So if you need any financial help, always contact a financial advisor. YieldMax ULTY Ultra Option Income Strategy. Now, we all know this fund. We've been around it for years. This has been the talk of the town, big time across the board. And really, let's give you a quick rundown of the champion. They have over $3.31 billion in assets. They have over 588 million shares outstanding. This fund started in February of 2024, so we got a little bit of time under their belt. Their distribution rate is 85.53% per YieldMax, and they pay out a distribution average weekly of about 9.6 cents per share per week. Now, what's the big problem with ULTY? Well, we all know that as NAV erosion. The year to date so far is down 37.28%. So now, if you're getting 85 and taking away 37, you're not getting the big distribution that you wanted to. But the question that we threw out there is there any other ETF possible that could beat this? Because the real question that we have to ask is, why did you invest in the ULTY in the first place? Well, I can simply give it to you in one word: income, income, income. You guys have all come back and said, I need and want the income from ULTY. I'll accept the NAV erosion. Not happy about it, but I'll accept it as long as I continue to get my distribution weekly average of 9.6 cents. I agree with you 100%. But if we're all here for income, 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 is there anything else out there better than ULTY? So, what if I told you we found better funds to invest into? And our goal is basically ULTY against everyone else. So we want to have a higher than ULTY in income. We still want our weekly distributions. We want our total return higher than ULTY. We want as low as possible NAV erosion. So we're willing to accept some NAV erosion, but man, we want the total return to be much higher. And we're going to base this all on a $10,000 investment into a fund. So if I took $10,000 into it, what would our actual return be in both ULTY versus the new Contender? So when we put this on the board, we didn't think we could win, but we're going to take a look at it and see who wins, who loses, and let's see what happens at the end. Our first contender comes out of the Granite shares portfolio, and the matchup is real simple. From age. Now, ULTY has this one at February of 2024. This one came out in July of 2025. So we give the check mark to ULTY. The distribution average, the 9.6 cents versus 53. That is huge and looks positive. Let's take a look at the year-to-date returns, 75.13 to 33.78. That makes sense because ULTY is going to basically have a 1-year return onto them already, while the competitor is only having just a few short, about 4 months total. So we're going to give that one to ULTY. Now the NAV erosion, 36% loss in NAV and ULTY, only 7.94% for our competitor. We're giving that win right there. This is a big matchup. It's a tie right now. So let's take a look at what we're going to look into, and it's all about income. So if we took that $10,000 and put it into ULTY, we would have 1,763 shares. On the competitor, we would have 426 shares total. But what does that do for our weekly income? Well, with ULTY, we get $169.31 a week, while our competitor will pay us $226.01 a week. Well, guys, yep, it looks like we have a knockout on this one. So who is our contender? That is going to be Granite Shares NVYY, the Yield Boost NVIDIA ETF. Now, what is the difference? Well, this one here, the Yield Boost, is really going to 2 times the leverage on NVIDIA's normal stock. Now, I know this does not operate the same way that ULTY does, so we can stop the comments immediately, because all we're focused in on is income. Everyone says the same thing over and over. I keep ULTY because of income. I hate the NAV erosion, but I want the income. So what we're trying to show you is that there's other alternatives out there that with select ETFs that you can get that are just built around income. So with this one, as your yield boost comes at 2 times the price of NVIDIA, generates a unique way, and I like this about the Granite Shares, is they sell the put options. They also do some slight call options, but primarily right now they're pretty much heavily into the put options on the fund. When we take a look at their track record, yeah, it's down a little bit, that 8.45% year to date. It's dropped off a little bit in the past 30 days, but at the same time, NVIDIA is making some great noise, and we're going to start to see this increasing as well. But what we're real pleased with, look at the dividend. It's pretty standard across the board. So when we take a look at it 1 year out, if you invested this in 1 year and we kept the averages all the same, you would have $11,752 from NVYY versus the $8,804 from ULTY. That gains you $2,948 more in 12 months, which is a 29.43% increase. Now, I think this is why we say NVIDIA wins on this game. Let's continue. Our next contender comes out of the Granite Shares factory again. Now, this one here is a little bit older, so we got a little more closer of an age gap between this. One came out in February 24, one come out in December of 24, but we still are going to give that to ULTY. Now, our average distributions at 9.6 is compared to a 25 center, so definitely higher there. Our distribution rates 75.13 to 139.62, so it looks like we have a strong competitor going up against ULTY. But here we go, NAV erosion only 36.73% on ULTY, while our competitor has dropped 65.49%. It is kind of against a little bit of our rules, but the NAV erosion wins on ULTY. Now, if we took $10,000 and invested into the fund, we would have 1,763 shares versus 1,199 shares, so a lot closer. But look at the difference in the weeks, $169.31 to $299.76 a week. So again, I believe we have a knockout. I think ULT gets knocked out of the ring when it comes to how much per week we're going to gain. So who is our contender? Well, that's going to be TSYY, the Yield Boost Tesla ETF. Okay, so this one again from Granite Shares does the same exact thing. 2 times leverage on the price performance of the Tesla stock, selling their put options to generate their income. This one, like I said, was come out December 18th of 2024, so it's been out there a little bit of time. But the big thing here is, like all we've seen with the Tesla stocks is the erosion happened early in the program, and it's kind of flattened itself out. And what I'm seeing is we're seeing a lot of movement in Tesla stock lately, and we're starting to see all of these Tesla ETF funds starting to pick up and grow. So that's a big positive on this factor that we look at. Look at their dividends. Since June of 2025, they have just paid out a steady cash flow with that basically a 22 cent plus or minus a few pennies here or there So it's really given a strong, steady flow of payouts on a regular basis. And that's what we're looking for income. We don't need our things spiking. What we need is a steady cash flow coming through. So when we take a look at this one, this is what really gets crazy is 1 year, you're going to have $15,587 versus $8,804 in ULTY. So that gives you an extra $6,783 or a 67.83% increase over what you're getting from ULTY currently. So again, this is why I feel we have a great winner in TSYY in this up the head-to-head competition. Let's get into our final matchup of the night. Again, it's going to come out of Granite Shares stable, and here we go. The age. ULTY wins the age because they've been out there the longest. They've been out there and performing and so on. So this one here comes a little newer, 7. So we're really only about 2 months into this one as we sit. But look at the distribution right off the bat. 9.6 cents versus 68 cents. Okay, the distribution yields 75.13 so far because, again, we only have a couple months under our belt, 24.96%. So that is huge. This one will rocket much bigger numbers as they get more and more time under their belt. But we have to give the award over to ULTY. Erosion. 36.73, 23.29 goes to the competitor. But let's take a look at now into that $10,000 investment, because that's what we're looking at is what are we getting in income. And this is the big one. $10,000 invested will give us $169 in ULTY. With the competitor, we're going to get $352.14 a week. That is a super, super knockout across the board. So who is our contender? Well, that's going to be COYY. It's the Yield Boost Coin ETF. Same program that they've been doing with the other ones. This is why we used the Granite shares. We thought these guys really are producing some serious cash and producing some great income. When we take a look at this, their 1 year is $18,311 versus the $8,000 that you're going to get from ULTY. That means you're getting an additional $9,507. When we look at the drop off that they've had at 23%, that's really just from their initial startup on the pricing. It dropped off, and it's kind of, we're going to follow what coin does. Of course, it's got a lot of volatility out there. So you're going up, you're going down a little bit, but you're pretty much staying in that straight flat line in that $20 to $22 range. Our next one we take a look at is the dividends. The dividends have been pretty steady in that big 70 plus cents. Yeah, we had a drop off here a little bit down to the 50s, but we still see this thing holding fairly strong. But when you take a look at this over a 12-month period, you're talking a 95.07% increase in your weekly, yearly income. So guys, I think this one really has to be in a lot of people's radar to say, that's a lot of cash, that's a lot of money, and maybe we need to be investing into this one. So the commentator's view of all this, guys, look at ULTY. I am not, as one tough customer, it is still a great fund. I am not sitting here saying to kick it to the curb. It's done, over with. ULTY is still a very strong package. But when you sit down and say, I want income, I want more, I want big income, I want to do more, I'm going to pour more money into ULTY, I highly look at this and say, guys, maybe it's time to look at other funds. Granite Shares has a great funds that they produce big income. I'm not saying to sell off ULTY and buy all Granite shares. I wouldn't do that. I'm keeping my ULTY, but what I'm also doing is taking new dollars of investment and looking at who's giving me the most money across the board. For a while, it was Robinhood, the HOW out of Round Hill. Then I started looking deeper and deeper and just doing some more evaluations. I said, I got to share this with our fans and all of our Patreon supporters. And this is what I did. When we take a look at this across the board, I know these things are dialed into one stock. I know they do this, and ULT has a little bit more variety to it. But you know what? We're still going across the board. We're still getting NAV erosion. We're getting some increases, decreases. We think we've kind of stabled. The reviews I've done with ULTY showing that we just need a little bit more time and it'll start to recover again. And I'm starting to see that in the numbers itself. But across the board, I just think if you have more money coming in, new money, spread it around. And I think you guys could see a huge change in your income strategy. Because when we take a look at the NVYY at 29% increase, boy, I tell you what, guys, that's huge. 67% from the Tesla, which I've been calling that. If you've looked at any of our reports in the back, look at some back videos, we've been calling this, saying the Teslas are going to take off. And then we get into the coin package, which, you know, there's always volatility. There's going to be always volatility in all of the Bitcoins and that side of the fence. And you're getting 95%. Man, even if this thing cuts in half, you're still ahead of the curve. So I just think these are win-win-win programs, which I guess want to share with everybody into it. So just remember, new money coming in, take a look at different areas. Don't always just pour it right into it. A lot of people have ULTY on drip. I understand that. But you also think maybe turn the drip off and drip into a different fund. So just some heads up on that. That 95.07%, guys, I don't know if you can really beat it with COYY. Just huge. So overall summary, guys, if you're looking for income, remember our answer. If you're looking for income, we need to look at all the players and compare. Guys, I'm Doug the Retirement Guy. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button. If you're not a member, hit that subscribe. We would appreciate that so much. Also, if you have any comments, tell us what you think. You guys like this? Didn't like this? It's one-sided, two-sided? Let me know. And also, thank you to all the Patreon supporters. And if any of you want to support the Patreon, it's free. You get onto Patreon. You get a lot of information behind the scenes before it gets onto YouTube. And then if you're a paying member, there's even more on top of that. So guys, we'll catch you next week.